Elizabeth Graham is a trans woman with autism who shares her story of transitioning. She is an employee of the Arc of Prince George's County. Please welcome our last storyteller, Elizabeth Graham.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Graham, and I have Asperger's syndrome. And I also work at the Arc of Prince George's County in Maryland, where I am one of the 3 service coordinators for the Maryland Medicaid Home and Community-Based Services Waiver for children with autism. And I am honored and thankful to be speaking in this plenary session. At the age of 6 months, I was adopted from Taiwan by my loving mom and dad, and I'm the only child. I was born with Asperger's syndrome, which is high-functioning autism, although the American Psychiatric Association no longer officially recognizes it as a diagnosis. Although I did not receive my official diagnosis until around my sophomore or junior year of high school, it was clear to my parents early on that my learning needs were a little bit different. After Montessori school, my parents then enrolled me at the Lab School of Washington, a private school in Northwest Washington, D.C., and it's for students with moderate learning differences. As part of my IEP, each week I received both group and individual sessions from the school speech therapists and occupational therapists. Growing up, I had trouble at the time socializing with others, especially with my same-aged peers, which is not uncommon with people on the autism spectrum. I was mostly conversing with adults, although my teachers at school were concerned about that. I wasn't. Being popular among fellow teenagers is not needed after high school. I grew up playing the accordion and competed nationally. It was mostly at these events I socialized with others my age because we all had that shared interest. I learned the accordion from my mom's colleague in the U.S. Army Band, but my mom taught me the music. Even as I was becoming aware slightly of being different socially, I was also beginning to question the gender I was assigned at birth, male. I remember having these feelings as early as 8 years old. Other people may have them, the realization at different ages. It's different for each person. I felt incongruent with how I felt inside versus how my parents and society were telling me how to live in regards to gender norms. I gravitated towards activities such as tap dancing, theater, and horseback riding. For play dates, my mom often had to persuade me into having a boy over for the play date. And there were times when I began to ask God, why was I born a boy? I remember asking my mom more questions regarding feminine hygiene and grooming than I did with my dad on masculine stuff. Also, my mom was surprised that I enjoyed watching chick flicks with her. At around age 12, I was beginning to discover my gender identity, but had no outlet or people with whom I could share these feelings. It wasn't until I was 14 years old that I learned the word transgender and began wondering if that term applies to me. My high school years were tough, especially given in my freshman year, my mom died at the age of 54 from skin cancer, melanoma, on Monday, December 6, 2004. My mom's last week was very rough for us, obviously, but I am comforted by her last words to me. I love you. My faith in God was shattered, and for a while I stopped attending church regularly. My mom was the person to whom I was closest, and losing her during my coming of age years was incredibly difficult. My mom's death influenced me to focus on bereavement as a psychology major and counseling minor in college. For quite some time, and despite my mom's death and my Asperger's diagnosis, some people came up to me and said, "You seem to have it all together." But that wasn't true. I went to Marshall University in West Virginia, which today is becoming more transgender friendly. And at Marshall, I received great support from the college program for students with autism. In college, I began to truly begin exploring how I felt. It was at night when I was out in private, mostly with a couple of close friends, as my true self. I admit that my grades dropped a little bit because I was preoccupied with this aspect of my life, but I did manage to stay in good academic standing each semester. Upon graduating from college, I began to seriously think about my transition. After seeing a therapist for a while, I decided to come out transgender to my dad on my 26th birthday on Sunday, August 16, 2015. My dad said he was not too surprised. I told him that I was going to begin hormone treatment soon, and he said he would help if my insurance didn't cover the medication. Thankfully, my insurance provider covers it. Professionally, after 2 years as a direct support professional providing community-based residential supports in Montgomery County, not at the ARC chapter there, I applied for my current job at the ARC of Prince George's County. Now, a lot of transgender people experience fear of discrimination, and that's what I experienced. So I interviewed as my former male self and was soon offered the position of Autism Waiver Service Coordinator. I came out to my boss in an email shortly after accepting the job offer to disclose that I'm transgender and was planning to begin my transition. And much to my surprise and relief, my boss and her boss informed me that my transition would be a non-issue. So I thank my boss, Linda Mack, for her support. She was not able to be here for the convention. I began hormone treatment and living full-time at around the start of my job at the ARC of Prince George's County. Now, for many transgender people, they have a lot of challenges. Fear of discrimination, fear of being noticed out in the community or denied services. For me, my hardest challenge has been my mom not being around anymore. In 2017, I began to return to church on a regular basis, the same church I attended since 1996. I am a member of Westmoreland Congregational United Church of Christ in Bethesda, Maryland, an open and affirming United Church of Christ congregation. I assisted in helping my congregation become educated on transgender issues. I'm also the current chair of my church's Board of Spiritual Formation. I'm also co-teaching the Our Whole Lives Sexuality program to the middle school students. I also recently came out as pansexual. Now, for the sake of time, I'll let you look it up. I am now wrapping up my third full year at the ARC of Prince George's County. November 16th will be my official third anniversary. And, I was hired because of my qualifications, not my gender identity or expression. And amid these uncertain political times for people with developmental disabilities and differences and who are transgender and or gender non-conforming, I am truly glad and blessed to be part of an organization that is committed to promoting diversity and inclusion for all, regardless of abilities, race, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, or creed. During the times we now live in, it is important that we not be silent. I will say it again. My name is Elizabeth Graham, and I'm a transgender pansexual woman with Asperger's syndrome. Thank you.